I've got Brad Garlinghouse and David Schwartz talking about Ripple's destiny and in which they may be heading. This could be very important due to the fact with XRP being one in all the biggest assets within the crypto industry, right? Ripple working on transferring billions and billions of dollars, finally trillions of bucks an afternoon. I suppose it's in reality critical to forestall and have a moment and communicate approximately where in the human beings which are guiding the ship are heading the organization. Let's pass ahead and leap into this. So David, where are we nowadays? How's the present day nation of the XRP align with the vision you guys had whilst you first started this lower back in 2011? You realize it has been exciting. There were things which have type of pop out the manner that I suppose I predicted and matters that have simply been absolutely wildly out of doors of my anticipation. I think the way in which that would be actually, can I interrupt you? I become like, are you able to hear him okay? Yeah, I'm proper. Just ensuring. Thanks, first rate. I suppose one of the things is institutional adoption has been form of a bit extraordinary than we expected. I think it changed into, in some methods, it has been slower than we idea. In a few methods, it has been a great deal quicker. I think institutional adoption from like non-economic establishments and non-monetary organizations has kind of been slow. I think we probably could have anticipated more of a backside up adoption wherein like regular humans might be the usage of crypto first, like democratized remitters, for instance, and that kind of did not show up. But I suppose what did happen, this is thrilling, is the sort of economic gadget changed into sort of right for adopting it. The manner I consider it is tech has absorbed other industries, like Tech 8 retail through corporations like Amazon and Tech 8 Tune with virtual downloads and streaming services. I think tech is coming for finance, and I think we are due to the fact that with the institutional DeFi that we're seeing today. These are extraordinarily thrilling because they're institutional adoption, but they're no longer similar to Ripple turned into simply early with institutional adoption for bills, but that wasn't institutions that brought their customers to the blockchain. The patron just made a price and the customer didn't realize in which to move. Exactly. What I think we are simply starting to see now is establishments which might be doing such things as issuing stablecoins or tokenizing real international property, and they may be absolutely bringing their customers to those layer 1 blockchains. And I think it truly is a thrilling version for mass adoption that I suppose we are simply starting to see proper now. But so whilst you consider the vision, or even, we're going to talk and I'm going off script a piece. Go ahead. We're purported to cow positive matters. However, I already warned the group that we would possibly move everywhere right here. Who's going to criticize him proper? They cannot yell at me. But I'm absolutely curious, when the unique ideas of beginning the XRP ledger, what have been a number of the reasons you felt like, what's up, we will build a higher blockchain for bills? Like, just speak about perhaps a number of those early conversations of how it started. I assume the very earliest theory that we had is Bitcoin had simply hit the public eye and we had just commenced to learn about it. And I assume one of the things that we found out is that even in case you thought, as many human beings did on the time, that Bitcoin could simply take over the sector. It's like many different matters. You have a new faith, you think nicely, if everyone just believed the equal faith, it would be exceptional. But that could be. Any price network could be extremely good if everybody in the world had access to it. And we commenced to recognize that this idea that Bitcoin would somehow clear up interoperability due to the fact everybody would use it for the whole lot was just as naive as believing that any charge gadget might type of remedy interoperability. So what we commenced to study with the XRP ledger before everything changed into we thought the proof of work wasn't clearly going to work out. We had been sort of in advance of time, so first cracks were acting in that narrative. And the opposite factor that we found out is like 99.99% of the world's fee wasn't in blockchain at the time and wasn't going to be inside the very near term. And so there needed to be, I guess what we've known as these days bridges, there needed to be connectivity. And you probably have the best humans on the earth working at the XRP ledger in blockchain on the time that XRP become created. Like, it does not get better than this. Look in return, right? It's interesting. It is truly exciting. Like, have names now, and on the time we failed to name it a DEX, but like we built a DEX in 2012. We failed to name them Strong Cash, but we had solid coins within the very early releases. And we also had something that isn't radical at the moment, but was radical then, which changed into bills that you can manipulate. With Bitcoin, if you have a receiving cope with, and also you want to trade that receiving address because you need to control your finances one by one, you need to change who can acquire your payments, you need to provide everybody a brand new deal with. It's very hard to put it on the market, this idea that an account being an aspect that you could have and manipulate, that's alien to Bitcoin. However, of course, Ethereum is built around that idea. So yeah, it became a form of interesting looking as the generation unfurled that a number of the once concepts, so Ethereum staked out its own vicinity inside the landscape.
Yeah.
There's rumors accessible that Vitalik became an intern at Ripple before I become at Ripple. Tell us greater approximately that.
Yeah.
I suggest it's so unhappy, we are way off display screen, whatever. It does not mean it's so unhappy that failed to work out. I imply, can you consider the amazing things Vitalik ought to have accomplished at Ripple? No, but significantly even though Vitalik had some superb thoughts about clever contracts on layer 1. At one point he stayed on Stefan's sofa, our CTO on the time, and he shared his thoughts. And we had been obviously very, very impressed that he had a clear vision, now not that a long way in advance of its time as it grew to become out. And he virtually stepped in Thomas, myself, Arthur Brito at times, and Vitalik mentioned bringing layer 1 clever contracts to our layout. And apparently sufficient, there had been loads of motives why we didn't clutch onto that concept return then. I wager you can argue we are a little late to the party, speaking approximately that now. But I assume it's an exciting counterfactual to assume if Vitalik had persuaded Stefan, Arthur, and I to build smart contracts into layer 1 at the XRP ledger within the early days. But I think what we were worried with is that it might, and you may see this with Ethereum, that it causes the transaction prices to go up and it reduces the transactions per second, then it does have costs. And obviously you can argue approximately, obviously it has blessings as well. Well, so perhaps I'm transitioning return to a number of the stuff we're going to must cover. I'm wondering in the event that they understood who they wanted their purchaser to be manna back while. They wanted their customers to be financial institutions and banks. They didn't actually care about retail having their say, because whilst you study Ethereum, if every person recalls how high-priced Ethereum was once as compared to what it is today, it's not even near. I used to pay tens of thousands of dollars in fuel fees while it got here to Ethereum lower back in 2021. If you weren't around at some stage in that bull marketplace, a lot of stuff changed into occurring on Ethereum. There were a few tasks, node projects that I was invested in, and every time I might claim those nodes, I must pay $4,000 or $6,000 just to say the cost on those nodes, and the price became some $100,000. So don't get me incorrect. I turned into truly earning money on the time, but are you able to imagine simply on a bigger scale, thinking about the overall populace like human beings that don't have tens of lots of bucks to pay on fuel fees, like how that community turned into genuinely not designed for anybody on the time? Now, Ethereum has got mana less expensive with the advances over the years. However, nevertheless, I like how David Schwartz and the team understood that. Hi there, we don't need to make smart contracts and feature anyone building on the XRP ledger. We really need to aim this in the direction of economic institutions and banks. And so you sort of ought to construct an environment from the ground up, whereas like with EVM compatibility, it's already there. And a Bradism, the tyranny of or as opposed to the strength of, and as long as there is no dangers to adopting clever contracts on layer 1, then and is usually a terrific solution. And so my issue turned into that there had been some dangers to adopting smart contracts, proper at layer 1 rate, instability, lack of transactions in keeping with 2D, and additionally simply type of records blue. If you have a beneficial smart agreement, it has to have lots of information. And so those were the reasons why traditionally I failed to assume smart contracts on the XRP ledger layer 1 made feel as it could not compete with clever agreement structures. A couple of factors have modified my